All right, so you're here because you've asked me about the lore and I've sent you this video as a link, or you just want to know what's going on. But first, I have to preface this by saying that these used to be edgy Steven Universe OCs that I made at age 14, probably, circa 2016, earlier maybe-ish. So, good luck, enjoy yourself, and content warning for everything except for sexual assault. Let's get started. So, as I said before, this started in the Steven Universe fandom. And I was a little Russian kid, and I really did not like the Diamond Authority or how they forgave them. So I wrote this OC plot where the gems just lined up and shot their boss and took over a planet. Yeah, and they had to be communists, obviously, because I thought that that's what happened every time you had oppressive leadership, was that the communists would show up and just like violently execute the previous government and then rapidly industrialize after, and then you go to space in like a couple years. That's how it went. You have to bear with me here. So I do lay awake at night, scared that Steven Universe will find me and shoot me for plagiarism. Anyway, there's a gay subplot too. Definitely not inspired by anything. Now that I've suffered and crawled through the 2017-ass origins of this story, we can actually get started. We have the conglomerate. So this is loosely based on the monarchy from the Russian Empire because we hate imperialism. But they speak exclusively in corporate speech so that it really invokes that inescapable dead-end job feeling. They take over planets and they either enslave everybody there if they're deemed useful, or they just kill them all and take their resources. So when they enslave people, they start taking their genetics and growing them in labs and mass producing them. They can modify genetics to some extent, but what they do is they tell everyone they've been genetically modified to not be capable of individual thought or self-expression. And they can only be happy through servitude because they have been made for that purpose. This is not actually true or possible, and everyone there is obviously a real person with free will, but they can't tell because the level of social conditioning they have been subjected to is more than enough to keep them in line. So the conglomerate believes in a rigid hierarchy and is very bioessentialist. So what that means is they believe 100% in nature and not at all in nurture. The conglomerate is run by a figure called... Okay, we're going to do English pronunciation here. English. This is going to be confusing in the sense that it's unclear whether or not he actually exists or just represents the higher-ups of the conglomerate. They use him as a stand-in for God sometimes to control the more recently colonized species, communities who believe in that sort of thing. So in between a member of the enslaved or working labor class and this guy, the hierarchy is designed to feel infinite and impossible to ascend or even map out in your mind. The conglomerate also has a sort of panopticon thing going on where they have a lot of microphones and security cameras, because if they detect any sort of individual thought or deem a person defective for any reason, they will kill them. Alright, let's do species. So ignoring the massive HR violation here for a second, bear with me, and focusing on the guy with the antennas. I don't really know what these are, but they're used as cannon fodder and soldiers and are referred to as infantry for the duration of the story. You'll see them again at Department 2 when I explain what that is. These two are used for emergency services. One is a medic and the other is law enforcement. Can you tell that people's jobs are dictated entirely by what kind of creature they are? Because the conglomerate is insanely racist. Okay, these ones are interesting. They're basically cloud people who control the weather. They're a bit different than the species listed so far, in the sense that they're not even the same state of matter. Their bodies are just compressed water. Colonized by the conglomerate super recently, to the point where a few of the ones in service were taken off of a planet instead of being grown in a lab. The conglomerate controls them with religion and claiming that the Tsar is God and that their suffering is by divine order. These people live in nuclear family-styled units where everybody reports to whichever guy is wearing the hat. Alright, it's finally Catgirl time. These were pretty inspired by nothing at all. So they're the same as her, engineers for the military. They're used for pretty much 3 things. Number 1, building bridges and such for infantry to use while under attack. This is called combat engineering. It exists in real life. It's terrible. Number 2, maintaining the machines that the conglomerate uses to grow people, also not fun. And number 3, building weapons for use by infantry. They're technically soldiers, but they're problem solvers and engineers first. They build things. They work together a lot with the actual general purpose army and are quite close. They have the ability to heal wounds really quickly as a play on the whole cats have 9 lives thing. This helps because they're constantly getting shot at while trying to wire things together, or getting their hands crushed in factory and machine accidents because the working conditions are terrible. A group of these engineers is led by an overseer. This is a mix between a project manager and a commanding officer. They get different boots to denote their rank, as well as a few other key items, and you will see them all again later at Department 3. Commanders. There's only one of her in this story. They're unfathomably high-ranking, considered nobility, said to speak directly with the Tsar, which is a huge deal. They represent the presence of monarchy and order on the scale of entire planets. They're mostly ceremonial practice. They can't really do a lot, but they can smell and taste fear. Approximately 10 feet tall, very scary. We're gonna do characters now. So, starting off with Department 3, the engineering group. Everybody here was sent to work on the project that I will mention later because they've made a horrible mistake that the conglomerate would have otherwise killed them for. So, it's completely canon that everybody here is incompetent to some level, which explains a lot of the plot going forward. So we're going to start off with Ketsu Kasimura. I have the most to say about this one since she lies to everyone and is basically 3 different people, so let's get her out of the way first. I preface this by saying she's not a good person. Not necessarily evil either, just picture how a cat would behave morally if they were allowed to open carry and could lie to you verbally. Her old issue is being a political radical who believes in some kind of space Marxism and makes it everyone else's problem. She's the only person she's met who has realized that the conglomerate is lying to everyone and that people are sentient and have their own thoughts. And she witnesses the production facility where they make people, and these 2 things drive her crazy for the rest of the plot. The reason she gets sent away to work on the project is because she slips up and defends herself in a way that shows that she's self-aware. We'll go through the other ones quickly and what they did to be sent to work on the weapon, which is where all of these people go. They get sent to build a space nuclear bomb, and all their documents are erased because the conglomerate plans to kill them after they're done making it, just keep it secret. Anyway, number 1, Clavia. Her name means keyboard. She's the computer engineer, IT guy, whatever. Genuinely likes being a terrorist. She's like 40. Selected to build a weapon for unauthorized violence. Misha Karta, her name means ID card. This is straight up a child who did not pass her exams because the conglomerate doesn't give you free time. So you're done university at 18 and you start when you're way younger than that. Naoka Ryzik, unethical experimentation. Next, Talita Zvezda. Her name means star 2 times because she's a sweetie. We don't know what she did, but it must have been deeply awful. Tasha missed too many deadlines, and their medic, they call him something else every 2 seconds. His real name is Vero, but nobody knows that. They send him away for being more of a drug dealer than a doctor. So these 2 are actually more fleshed out, and it is 100% for comedic relief reasons. Alif Castiglione is the deputy. She went to school with Katsi. They were grown in the same lab, so they're close to some extent. Smart, pretty, good at everything, but has a terrible anxiety disorder and perfectionism. Does not work at all under pressure, completely incapable. Sent away for the absolute worst reason, because she was doing so well before. She managed to lie about her driver's license to avoid getting in trouble and then crash one vehicle into another. $1 billion mistake, survived by accident, cannot drive. They would have killed her on the spot, but the performance evaluation was pretty good before and they needed people who they were going to kill anyway, so sent away. And this guy, they just call him Dot. Genuinely stupid, incompetent at everything except for driving, so he's forced to work with the other one. They just found him unemployed on a planet somewhere. He's not even like a catboy or something, they just found him outside. Next group of people, let's go. This is Azure. Azure, oh my god, why did I name her that? Anyway, extremely long list of things wrong with this girl. Alright, let's start. Number 1, major depressive disorder. Number 2, borderline personality disorder. Number 3, steals shit. Number whatever, takes pills. Probably an alcoholic. The one issue we can't talk about. I'm kidding, we have to talk about it. The conglomerate made her incorrectly because they just started making cloud people, so they messed it up horribly when they grew her in the lab. She's got the strength of about 10 people in one small and pathetic body, which is completely linked to her emotional state, and it's uncontrollable and very fatal to the people around her. It manifests as changes in weather and air pressure, and natural disasters, just entirely based on her emotional state. She'll make you bleed from the eyes, and then your head will implode. This is basically a medical condition, and she considers it unethical for herself to be alive and keeps trying to off herself, but it does not work at all. Downer substances along the lines of sedatives and alcohol keep it under control temporarily, but it doesn't always work. She's addicted to both of those things and suffers consistently. She only talks to the guy at the bar and isolates in an abandoned house somewhere because she doesn't want to kill anyone by accident. Here are some of her family members. They're all awful. Her mom in particular, she has a really bad relationship with her mom. They do not get along. This is the bartender I mentioned before. Can you believe they're the same guy? He's an enabler. He enables her problems. This is the commander that I mentioned previously. She doesn't really deviate at all from her purpose. She sucks, genuinely. Real because I said so type of individual. A lot of seize him, a lot of unhand me, things like that. Her real name is Vltava, but nobody actually calls her that because she's not on a first-name basis with anyone. Okay, so we're finally to the actual plot. As I mentioned before, the Tsar and the conglomerate want to make a weapon of mass destruction. This is like their version of the nuclear bomb. Their goal is to keep this 100% secret, so they're taking people with low performance evaluation scores that nobody will miss, erasing their documents from existence, and then planning on killing them when the project is over to maintain absolute secrecy. They are being sent to a remote planet to do this, and it is planned for them to die there, on that planet. So before being sent out, because Katzy takes one leadership-related course in university that qualifies her to be an overseer someday, they decide to take her outside, and she's in trouble at this point for fighting. Instead of killing her for this, they promote her, which is stressful because she's like 19. It makes no sense. They should be executing her. They tell her not to question them or the will of the conglomerate and to just shut up and go. So she shuts up and she goes. She's basically just been promoted as punishment to lead a doomed project because they were going to kill her anyway. And that's just what you get for being simultaneously the most qualified and most expendable person for the job, as is everybody else selected to be in Department 3. So everybody gets on the ship. Katzy and Olive are there with a bunch of other engineers, and they're one medic. So from the start, they realize the mission is really poorly planned out and everything feels off. Everyone there was promoted despite all receiving really bad performance evaluations almost immediately before. They don't even have enough rations to make it to the planet that they're supposed to go to. And they started to notice that all their references to them have been deleted, and it's like they don't exist in the database anymore. To deal with the rations issue, Katzy has them pull the ship over on some backwater planet so that they can kill animals for meat and resupply. They land and they set up a temporary site office outside so that they can talk and plan ration procurement away from all the security cameras and microphones because they would get in a lot of trouble for doing this. Katzy, in her infinite wisdom of being 19 years old and in charge of something she should not be in charge of, uses this time to try and radicalize everyone to her political cause, and she does this by giving them extra food and luxuries. Clavia is like 40 and doesn't respect Katzy's authority at all as the overseer, which is bad because she grabbed one of their 4 guns. So even though Olive hates it, Katzy makes her carry one of the other rifles around for the duration of their stay because she's loyal and will presumably cover her if Clavia tries anything. While everyone's there, they find Dot unemployed outside, as previously mentioned. He can't understand anything they're saying, so they inject him with a microchip that lets them understand the language the conglomerate uses. He tells them that he's been alone on the planet for years because they tried to take it over, deemed his species completely useless, and killed everyone, and begs them to not leave him alone. Katzy is like, "That's great, champ. Are you good at anything?" And he's like, I can drive a vehicle." And she's like, "Excellent. My deputy can't do that. Welcome aboard," and recruits him. One of the Tsar's journalists, who is being sent on the same mission, sees that they've gone off track and decides to follow them to the planet. He gets there and is like, "This is unauthorized. I'm gonna report you." So Katzy is like, "Oh, you're a journalist? Kill him." She actually has Dot do it as some kind of fucked up loyalty test to finish his recruitment. And he's like, "Gee, boss, that was crazy." And she's like, "I'm so proud of you." And he just stands there, blankly. And Olive says, "It gets easier," and pats him on the shoulder. So then they collect all their rations, pack up, leave, fly away. Eventually, they make it to the very remote planet that they're supposed to be working on. It's called Alpha 6, in the absolute middle of nowhere, and there's a really nasty-looking hurricane in the middle of it that they can see from space. So they try and call with their radio to see if anyone has any instructions for them, and Department 2 answers. They tell them to just, "Yeah, go ahead, fly into this horrible hurricane. It's fake, trust us." And they're like, "Sure, whatever, fine. We're here already." We're going to briefly do lore again to discuss this planet. So the entire thing is a flat grassland because only wild grasses and short plants have colonized the land at this point. And also because I hate drawing backgrounds. Anyway, Conglomerate has cloud people on the planet making the fake storm to cover up all the military bases so that you can't see any of them from space. This is their entire job, and they take it extremely seriously, which is funny because it's an objectively stupid job to have. We're going to explain departments now. So this project is extremely bare bones and is supposed to represent the absolute bare minimum of government, and this government is organized into 4 departments by function. We have Department 1, which is general labor, construction workers, the cloud people. Department 2, soldiers. Department 3, engineering. Department 4, the elite and its representatives. The commander and all the surveillance people work here. These are all supposed to get their own office building, facility, whatever, and all the symbols are literally just supposed to be the numbers for each department in their alien language. Okay, so Department 3 lands their ship, and this project is so mismanaged that their office building isn't even built yet. It doesn't exist. They're just in the middle of a field, camping out. No orders, no nothing. The commander isn't there, no evidence of a project. So Katsuya is like, holy shit, an opportunity. We can be free. There's like a 50% chance that the boss even shows up. Her people are like, I don't know, Overseer. And she's like, well, esteemed comrades, I'm gonna go get some milk. See ya. And then utters the words that no self-respecting second in command ever wants to hear. Aleve, you're in charge. Have fun. And do not put Clavia in charge of anything. Ever. So, granted, Aleve will do the job correctly, but she deeply hates being in charge of anything because of the mentioned anxiety, perfectionism, all of those traits. It will drive her absolutely insane about it. So she's like, no, Overseer, we need you. And Katsuya hits her with the, yeah, I don't know why you don't believe in yourself, but I do. See you. And she fucks off to go harass the locals. Welcome to the horrible gay subplot. So we start with Azure, who is running away to self-isolate since she has been running out of benzodiazepines and knows that she's going to have another episode imminently. She does not want to kill any more people by accident because she feels really bad about it. Katsuya has also run off and effectively draft dodged her responsibilities as overseer for now, and is actively looking for people to harass and terrorize out of boredom because she has finally acquired free will for the first time and wants to experience the height of consciousness. So they see each other, and Azure is like, holy shit, you need to get out of here because I'm gonna kill you. And Katsuya is like, oh joy, is that a challenge? And Azure's like, dude, I'm fucking serious. You need to leave right now. I'm gonna kill you. And pulls a knife out to try and scare her away. Katsuya pulls a gun and is like, don't worry, I'll make this really easy for you by not using this. And basically Azure realizes that Katsuya is deranged, and the only way to get this girl to leave before the natural disaster happens is to give in and fight. So they have a knife fight and argument, and Katsuya's about to win, but gets distracted and loses because somewhere along the line, Azure says the most appealing words ever. Oh yeah, and fuck the Tsar. And Katsuya realizes that she has just found the second person to independently realize that the conglomerate's mind control is illegitimate. Immediately enraptured. She doesn't have long to be excited about it though, because Azure gets sick, as she was going to anyway, and exposes Katsuya to abject divine terror, after which they both pass out. Katsuya survives with injuries, lots of eye bleeding, lots of everywhere bleeding. And when they wake up, she holds Azure at gunpoint and forces her to take her somewhere to access a medical kit. So Azure takes her to her abandoned house in the middle of nowhere where she lives, while profusely apologizing and alternating between, one, begging Katsuya not to turn her into the conglomerate for being defective, or to just hurry up and kill her. Katsuya patches herself up with the medical supplies and then yells at Azure for saying self-deprecating things while being so strong because it makes zero sense and she should be proud of herself instead, which is confusing. Azure ends up letting Katsuya stay with her as an apology for almost killing her because she feels deeply bad for her actions. Azure is an asshole and she's rude to everybody, but she always says sorry first. So that's at least one positive trait. This gets really convoluted, but basically they talk about how neither of them believe in the conglomerate and they end up becoming friends and looking after each other for a while. To them, it's like they're the only two real people in the world who have realized that they're actually people. So it feels like they're completely alone all the time, and that messes with a person and causes them to latch onto each other pretty severely. Katsuya teaches Azure to be less self-hating and suicidal, and Azure teaches Katsuya about things that real people do, things outside of work, because Azure's place in the conglomerate is significantly less robotic and monitored than Katsuya's, so it makes a big difference to her. They go to the bar. Katsuya has Azure blow up buildings to sabotage the conglomerate with her. They sit in a meadow and talk all the time. They get a lot closer, and this is basically a situationship at this point. The entire time, Katsuya refuses to talk about her job or straight up lies about it. Lies include, but are not limited to, number 1, I won't ever go back there. Number 2, I'm basically just an intern. They won't even miss me. Things like that. Despite destroying her mind and body with various substances, Azure is smart and knows that something's up, but doesn't really want to believe it or think about it, and likes having one singular friend, so she pushes it to the back of her mind. So we get through a solid year of this before Katsuya's work computer ID badge thing starts blinking her draft papers at her and requesting that she is recalled to her post at the facility immediately. And by immediately, we mean exactly 2 weeks. Azure manages to grab the screen and read it eventually and is like, justifiably pissed. A lot of, Katsuya, you lying bastard, how could you? And Katsuya is like, do you even know what being drafted is like? You don't even know what being employed is like. And Azure asks her if she's fucking serious and if she's even gonna try to stay. To which Katsuya reiterates that she's been drafted and that they will find her and shoot both of them immediately if she isn't where they want her in 2 weeks. So Azure feels the urge to do the leave them before they leave you, and proposes that since Katsi loves going against the government so much, they should just stop talking to each other right now, because then it'll be their choice instead of the conglomerate forcing them apart. And Katsi is like, taking political theory into account, wouldn't it be more of an FU to the conglomerate to maximize our free time together? And Azure is like, I actually think I never want to see you again. And Katsi agrees to this since it seems to be what'll make her happy, but she really doesn't want to agree to it, like, at all. Anyway, they go their separate ways, and Katsi goes to the bar to talk to the bartender, who she hates and who hates her back because every time they speak, she tries to pull a gun on him to get free drinks. She tells him how much pressure she's under and how scared she is, tells him to pass a message along to Azure saying how sorry she is about everything and that she won't cause her any more trouble in life. The dude is like, okay, good luck at that internship. Then Katsi packs up all of her shit in the middle of the night, leaves Azure's house, and has her people come pick her up. So Azure wakes up, immediately regrets her decision, and realizes she really does want to spend a little bit more time with Katsi for the last 2 weeks before they presumably never see each other again, ever, in their lives. But she cannot find her, and the house is completely empty. She goes to the bar because she's upset and doesn't want to get sick again and has a problem, and wants a beverage. And the bartender gives her the note, and they discuss how suspicious Katsi is and conclude that she probably wasn't an intern, but they can't come up with anything else, and nobody learns anything for approximately 5 years, which we'll get into. Azure goes home and sits by the phone trying to call Katsi for the rest of those 2 weeks. She doesn't know her phone lines have been cut. It rains for a very long time, and somewhere far away, Katsi is at work trying to ignore it. Katsi, the overseer, pulls back up to Department 3, and Aleve is like, oh my god, we missed you so bad. I hated being in charge. The 2 weeks finish, the commander shows up, and Department 3 start working on the weapon. They have their office building by now, finally. It took them a year, but the construction workers got it together and built it, so we're good now. We have the office. This is now an office comedy. So, for the next 5 years or so that they do this, the working conditions are absolutely terrible and get worse as time goes on. People are starting to go genuinely crazy and, killing themselves from stress and getting into workplace accidents because the deadlines keep getting shorter. The conglomerate is putting a lot of pressure on the commander to get this done and is considering just canceling the project and terminating everybody there if they don't get it done soon. Katsi is able to look around and find documentation proving that there is no genetic factor stopping people from acting freely, as well as papers stating that everyone on the project is gonna die. So Department 3 finally, really starts taking her seriously regarding all those deranged political rants about unionizing and workers' rights, and they get serious about taking over the government. Yes, even Clavia. So they start looping the security feeds so that Department 4 can't watch them anymore and they can speak freely and do a better job of planning mutiny. After a really particularly awful period of time where Katsi gets slapped around a lot, loses more workers, deadlines get really bad, she decides that she can't take it anymore and tries to just shoot the commander, coup attempt number 1. She obviously fails since she's trying to kill a 10-foot tall person with a tiny laser gun, and the commander throws her out of the window 6 stories, and Katsi falls and does not land on her feet and suffers immeasurably before managing to dial SOS with her broken hands. So Aleve shows up and starts panicking, calls Dot for emotional support. Dot calls the medic, who sedates Katsi, and then is like, I can't do much more. I'm not willing to die for this cause like the rest of you two crazy people, and I'm not going to jail for this. And he runs off. The commander shows up immediately after this and throws both of them and Katsi's unconscious body into jail. She lives barely, and is genuinely never the same person again. As soon as this is all over, she drowns herself in work and only goes by her job title, probably until the rest of her life. Despises breaking glass. Goodbye Katsi, hello overseer of Department 3. The commander is stressed out by this because she hasn't seen anyone outright rebel in any capacity before, so she calls the Tsar about this, extremely stressed out, and is ordered to keep Katsi alive since nobody else has the right qualifications, which the conglomerate cares about a lot. Way too bureaucratic. So nobody can technically be the next overseer of Department 3 right now, and ordering a new one will be too expensive and take too long. So everyone is just sent back to work because it is considered that their spirits have been sufficiently broken. It takes them a week to start planning the next coup. As the technical authority, they realize they're basically able to control the machinery of society, which grants them an undue amount of power since they can just turn the lights off until people do what they say. And if that doesn't work, they're armed. So here is a brief list of other actions taken in preparation of taking over the government. Number 1, getting friendly with Department 2 to win allies and get more than 4 service rifles. Finishing the weapons project so that they can use it for themselves to ward off the conglomerate later. Mapping out the communication lines. which they plan to cut, detonate, and then burn forever so that nobody can ever call the conglomerate for help. Okay, so this is the part where they actually manage to take over the government. Second time's the charm, I suppose. So the weapon is fully operational at this point, which means any day now the conglomerate is supposed to show up and euthanize everybody. It also works as a broadcasting system for people who are on the planet. Department 3 turns the weapon on and immediately proceeds with ending the world as they know it. In terms of killing your boss, we have now learned to not attempt to do this alone and to instead send actual soldiers you have made friends with from Department 2 to do it for you. So they tie the commander up, and the overseer uses the broadcast system to execute this woman, ISIS style, on live TV before giving a dinky little speech. Now, I don't know what she says during the speech, I haven't written it yet, but she starts it off for sure with friends and associates, comrades, and enemies, which spells face, which is something she does not have. Oh, and also, do not go to these coordinates. Love you, bye. Now, keep in mind, it has been a solid 5 years since Katzy and Azure have seen each other, and Azure sees this on live TV, has this reaction of like, holy shit, is that? And it's definitely her ex killing someone on live TV and partaking in active treason. And despite destroying herself with substances, Azure is smart and knows that Katzy is definitely going to be at those damn coordinates, so she goes there just to see it for herself, and the two of them see each other for a split second, make really awkward eye contact, and then the communication line detonates between them. Katzy sees that Azure is alive and tells everyone to be nice and not kill any more civilians. She goes back to the office building and immediately drafts a no-harm list full of definitely more than one person that no one is allowed to kill. But it takes the Overseer 3 weeks to gain full control of the government, which most of this is spent dealing with Department 4, which is the only main non-compliant resisting party. The new regime is definitely a violent dictatorship run by Department 3, but compared to the conglomerate's government where you're not even allowed to have your own thoughts, it's a lot better. But only by comparison. Department 3 gets a pretty rough start because there have been constant hurricanes, rain, weather disruptions, and thunderstorms since they seized power. The electrical grid keeps getting damaged, and they have to work really hard to keep it operational. People die in these natural disasters, like a lot of people. I wonder whose fault. Fun fact, at this point, Katzy and Azure have killed the same amount of people, but Katzy does it on purpose, celebrates it, and Azure does it by accident, and is like, I really need to kill myself. So now that they're fully in power, Department 3 makes some changes, such as even more mass surveillance, lots of CCTVs on legs and without legs. The rules are way more lax, but they are heavily enforced. If you break them, you are 1. Offered a job if that doesn't work, 2. Sent to a re-education camp where they make you read books while a guy points a gun at you. Number 3, executed. A little more elaborating on point 3, which is worse than it sounds. After taking over the government and saving the world from wage slavery and monarchy and feudalism, there was a labor gap to deal with everyone not being forced to work anymore, and they decided that labor camps are not Marxist. So the best and most empathetic and kindest decision the engineers at Department 3 was able to come up with to take neurons from the brains of everyone they just shot and use them to wire machines that will do the labor that just do all the work for everyone instead. Because copper wire is expensive and neurons are as plentiful as enemies. That means that option number 3 actually means get executed and then have parts of your consciousness suffer in robots until they wear out, doing work forever without any breaks. So who's doing overtime now, Commander? So if we look at Azure again, her priorities have now switched from kill myself to kill Katzy and then kill myself. So she's actively fighting against the regime. She uses her little knives to destroy as many of the machines as she can and is horrified when they bleed the way that people bleed. She rips these posters up too because she finds them especially insulting. So at this point, the Overseer has Azure on a watch list for killing her men, with natural disasters and damaging all of the infrastructure and messing up the electrical grid. And Azure continues to do this because she knows Katzy is watching her and wants to kill her for the whole dictatorship, but mostly for not calling her back. Most people are actually pretty happy with the regime change, all things considered, and the ones who aren't are busy. Azure looks pretty crazy, pacing around the bar, rambling about how the government is watching her, but she's actually just completely right. Meanwhile, the Overseer keeps refusing to just kill Azure already, and the rest of the department is sick of this, especially Aliv, who loses her legs in an Azure-related incident. Eventually, this poor girl has had enough and snaps and breaks into Department 3's office building. The Overseer knows that she's going to do this ahead of time because she can see everything through all the security cameras and such, so she just lets everyone go home and have a day off, to be honest. Azure finds Katzy and holds her at knife point. Katzy's fine at first, but they both get more and more upset because they remember the reasons that they hate each other so much the longer that they're forced to speak to each other. And Katzy tells Azure that if she kills her now, the world will effectively end a second time, but with much less planning and life will be worse for everyone. Azure says that isn't her problem since she's just going to take the gun and kill herself anyway when she's done. Katsy's response to this is, do what you came here to do, or leave. Azura's about to give up and leave, but Katsy can't help but make some remark about her never being able to finish the damn job, so she swings at her, and one of these things electrocutes her and knocks her out. Okay, yeah, anyway, Katsy ties her up and interrogates her. They have to have her sedated with this thing, or she'll get upset and destroy the department office with a hurricane or something and kill everyone, as she's been doing for the past also 5 years. At this point, Azura is heavily sedated and is supposed to be asleep. Katsy comes in and sits on the other side of the chair and basically trauma dumps about the accident and how much it sucks to work at Department 3 and how she had to do all of this out of survival, and then just cries for like 20 minutes straight about how the crops are failing because of all the rain and people are starving and her men are dying, and she doesn't want to make Azura suffer through all of this, but she can't really work up the strength to kill her either. So Azura reveals that she is awake because she's very hard to sedate and has heard all of that, and basically tells Katsy how fucked up everything is from her perspective. They work it out on the remix, kind of, not really. Katsy lets her go, and Azura promises to never come back and leave her alone. As soon as she leaves, literally as soon as she's gone, she has another episode. The planet suffers a blizzard, which is bad because none of their infrastructure is designed to handle snow. Massive, annoying power outage. Aliva's pissed. Katsy goes out to find Azura in the snow, and honestly, I was just gonna have them die here and freeze to death, but I really don't have it in me at this point, so they make up, kind of, not really. Azura acquires a nicer version of that uses just enough electricity to manage her condition, and she gets to go to accounting school and live a normal life with an office job in a cubicle like she always wanted to. On the side, she runs surveys with the general public on how the government could do a better job. These ideas are considered, at least, by the third department, whose policies have relaxed a little bit. Her and Katsy email sometimes. If you've managed to sit through this entire video at this level of absolute audio quality, then get excited for part 2 where I make Dot pregnant.